I already know exactly what you're thinking, and you're absolutely correct. Sniper Elite Nazi Zombie Army is as much a quick cash grab as you'd imagine, in response to the returning prevalence of zombie co-op in shooting games recently. And I suspected full well going into the game that it would probably be a suitably rushed experience. However, I was interested in seeing how it would apply the Sniper Elite series identity to a game about enemies who can't normally return fire. The big problem with the game is that normally it doesn't do that. And it ends up an overall shallow experience that stinks of lazy design, thinly veiled cash-in, and missed opportunity. My only prior experience with the Sniper Elite series was a short romp in Sniper Elite V2, where I encountered an enemy who did something so odd and unbelievable very early on. I don't remember if it was something incredibly stupid or something superhumanly perceptive, but it was something that made me quit the game immediately and think, no, I'm just not going to play this right now. So I have no attachment to the games, but I found the array of deployable explosives, in conjunction with shooting people at long distances from varying locations, a quite interesting and even promising premise. Of course, zombie AI is something that's pretty hard to fuck up too, so I figured there would be at least one thing the game would get right by default. NZA uses this rather unique foundation based on holding up and fortifying your position fairly well on a few occasions too. The game locks you periodically into smaller areas surrounding a building you can enter, like a house or a church, and begin summoning sizable waves of zombies. In most other games, locking you up until you've killed so many guys is a stale maneuver, but in the better parts of NZA, it's enjoyable. Your primary weapon is normally a semi-automatic or bolt-action rifle, so it's not quite so easy to play it like you would any other swarm shooter in these instances. It's both more practical and more entertaining to stay on the lookout for zombies, set up explosive traps, and try to fend them off, sort of like a tower defense game, but with fun gameplay. But as it turns out, in later levels especially, these situations are few and far between. The vast majority of the game is simplistically designed, and the zombie shooting gets very boring. In contrast to the buildings you can enter and camp in as you fend off the undead, large parts of the levels are nothing but long, straight corridors that put you on one end and a bunch of zombies on the other, or wide open streets and plazas that spawn zombies far away. The common zombie is so slow and simple that in these cases, dealing with even a horde of them is a completely trivial task. Along with regular undead enemies, NZA throws some uncommon enemies your way, but none that make it a particularly interesting experience, and some that even detract from it. The most populous is the skeleton, which has the most adorable animation ever and attacks more swiftly than a regular zombie, but it's easier to kill and not very satisfying to shoot. The suicide bomber enemy is kind of nice, mostly because it runs faster and becomes harder to hit with a bolt-action rifle, but it's something that seemingly every game has, and it's by no means more special than that. There is a sniper zombie who farts, quite literally, through the sky to a series of vantage points, but he doesn't appear to have any AI. He cycles through a few specific locations, meaning that it's never hard to lose track of him and never hard to hit him. The machine gunner enemy is probably the worst thing in the game, as he just saunters in your general direction, normally spawning after you've killed almost all the other nasties. He has a lot of health, but he's so stupid that he gives Spec Ops: The Line a run for its money, meaning that if you're in a long corridor area, you can just run backward and fire at him from cover without consequence, and if you're in a more open area, you can lead him in circles indefinitely around any piece of cover without him suspecting a thing. Aside from the aforementioned building sections, the game might as well not carry the title Sniper Elite at all. It has the same engine and a lot of assets carried over from Sniper Elite V2, but it does close to nothing to justify their existence. The cover system, some of the weapons, and even the rifle scope function, which I unbound in the game options, are completely vestigial. You still use your sniper rifle a lot, since a lot of the time you're in long corridors with enemies far away, but any resemblance to actual sniping is coincidental. Headshots are so easy with almost every weapon, and since enemies advance in pretty large clumps, you don't even need to aim much to land an effective shot. With minimal reliance on sniping, NZA is just another zombie game, not to mention not a very fun one. Something that really did entice me about the game was a sort of implicit promise it had made to provide entertaining campiness, but in that regard it's no Return to Castle Wolfenstein. It's not even Wolf 09. Apart from a wonderfully novel opening cutscene, there's no joy in the game, no effort put into the presentation. It's wave after wave of uninspired zombies with a few radio messages saying that zombies will kill you, and one part where a little girl with a distorted voice recites a boring poem about how you're going to hell. It's a little fun to create a co-op party of nerds wearing fedoras, but NZA's sense of humor ends there. Plenty of games are made from a desire to make some money, and a lot of them end up okay. But Nazi Zombie Army is such a dull, rushed game that seems entirely driven by the fact that its setting is part of a gaming fad. It has some realized potential thanks to the defense sequences, but it feels like a gutted version of its parent, full of now redundant systems and enemies that aren't fun to fight. It provides some basic entertainment, but for anyone who has any experience with zombie games like Killing Floor or Left 4 Dead, there's no good reason to try it out.
Your mouth, your nipples, down between your legs too.